Welcome to live.withcode.uk. This is series 4. We're going to look at some of the advanced GCSE Computer Science Python programming skills. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll do a mini series all about pi. We are going to load some data in from a file about some different pies, and we are going to analyze that data so that we can find out the total number of pies, as in here we're ordering 10 steak and ale pies, 30 chicken and mushroom pies, and 15 leek and potato vegetarian pies. We want to load that in, analyze it, work out how many pies in total, and then draw a pie chart of pies. I know it's terrible, isn't it? So this will take us a couple of weeks to go through the skills. We're going to break it down first of all. So today is all about decomposition, and then we'll focus on each of the parts that GCSE students tend to struggle with, which is things like displaying data in a table, processing the data in a two-dimensional list, and then using procedures and functions alongside turtle graphics to make it look nice and pretty. So let's start from this template that Edexcel gives us. And the first thing we're going to do today is just the decomposition. So what do I mean by that? Well, we're going to break up the program into smaller parts so that we can make it easier to use, easier to write, sorry. And then each of those small parts is going to be a subprogram, a procedure or a function. So first of all, I'd like to get a list of all the pies, and I'd like to get it from a file. So we should probably make that file. I'm going to have it as a CSV file, a comma separated value file. And I'll just copy it in from here. You can put your own data in here if you want. Comma separated value just means that we've got a value, in this case the name of a pie, then a comma, and then a value again, in this case the total number of pies. So we should probably have a constant in here that says file name. Then we can put in the name of that file. And then we want to load it from that file. So I would like a subprogram ultimately called load file, and we can say where we're going to load it from, something like that. Now load file doesn't exist yet. Python doesn't know how to load a file unless we tell it how to. So we should probably do that. Let's define a subprogram called load file, and it needs to know the name of the file to load. I'm not going to implement it yet. We'll do that in another video. We'll just make an empty list at the moment and return that just so that we don't have an error message. So let's describe what we're trying to do here. This should eventually read the data from the file, and this isn't finished yet. So I'm just going to put to do, not done yet, and we'll say load the data from the file in the format, and we should probably specify how what it's gonna look like. So I'd like to have a two-dimensional list of data in the format of the name of the pie and the quantity. So I'm just going to put name quantity. Okay, so once we've loaded the data from a file, we want to do a number of things with it. Let's have a look and see our worked example. First of all, we want to display it as a table, and then we want to display it as a pie chart. So let's work out the total number of pies first. So the total, we want another subprogram that's going to count the total number of pies from our data structure that we've got here. So this is going to be a list. We want to process that list and work out the total number, because we can't draw a pie chart or display this table until we've counted up all of these numbers added together. So let's put a comment in to describe what we're doing. Calculate the total help number of pies. We can't do that yet because we haven't made the subprogram. So let's define it. Remember, this is calling a function. This is defining a function. So if we define it, we need some parameters. That's what the lowercase p stands for, which is what Edexcel tends to do. You can call your parameters whatever you like. They don't need that lowercase p. but it's the format that you tend to get in the paper 2 exam. So let's call it pi data, and for now let's just return an integer and say that it's not done yet. Okay, no errors. We've broken our program down into smaller chunks. Is there anything else that we want to do once we've got the total number of pies? Well, yes, probably. It would be nice to display a table and then to display a pie chart. So let's say display table. We probably need to pass in the data that we've read from a file, and we should probably also pass in the total number of pies so it can be displayed at the bottom. And then we also wanted to just display a pie chart. We're not going to implement that in this lesson, in this video. We just want to do the decomposition, to break it down and make the structure of the program by defining those procedures and functions. So in order to draw the pie chart, we need the pie data. Oops, that should be pies plural. What else do we need to know? We need the total number of pies, and we'll pass in the size as well, how big the pie chart should be. So let's see, we'll define display table and define draw pie chart. Now we're going to have some syntax errors here, because on line 29 it's actually expecting something to be indented to be part of display table. So I'm just going to put in here the table goes here, and a comment to remind me that we haven't done it yet. And we'll do the same sort of thing here. Make a procedure that doesn't do anything yet, and a comment to remind us that we haven't finished it yet. Okay, so our next problem is the number of arguments doesn't match the number of parameters. What on earth does that mean? Well, here we're passing in 2 arguments. Display table needs the list of pies to display it properly and the total number of pies, but the definition currently doesn't accept any parameters. So let's put in a parameter for the pie data. That will be this one here, and a parameter for the total. And then similarly here, we'll pass in the pie data, the total, and the size of the pie chart. So that's as far as we're going to go today. All we've done is we've broken down the problem into smaller chunks. And then for each of those smaller chunks, we've created a procedure or a function that we haven't implemented yet, but we're ready to, so that we can break down our program into smaller chunks, and each chunk is easier to solve on its own. So your challenge is just to add some comments to describe what each of these do. And then in the next session, we'll work out how to display that data into a table using string formatting.